Christmas can really suck sometimes, especially when you can't do the things that other families around you are doing because your child is in a constant state of overwhelm. Trying to have the perfect Hallmark Christmas is only going to end in disaster. Instead, you need to create a Christmas that works for you and your family. Christmas was always extremely hard for my daughter. It was like at the beginning of December, someone pressed this big red button inside her head that just signaled meltdown and overwhelm. It was a mix of things. So there was definitely the sensory side. She has visual sensitivity, so all the lights going up everywhere was really overstimulating for her. And there is also the noise. We used to eat out once a week at this little cafe, and then suddenly there were all these Christmas gatherings and Christmas parties going on, and the noise levels just went up hugely, and she could no longer cope with it. And she was really upset because she liked going to that cafe. And I remember this one time we were on the tube and this three-piece brass band literally got on the tube and started playing carols, and her eyes just went like saucers, and she put her hands over her ears and just started saying, I need to get off, I need to get off, I need to get off. And actually she felt quite cross and angry that people were around her were doing all these things that were just stressing her out so much. There's also the routine, which kind of gets really twisted all around at Christmas, especially in school. You have your Christmas plays and your Christmas dinners and your Christmas jumper day. And that's really hard for a child who uses routine to find security and safety. And one of the biggest things for my daughter was the anticipation, that build up week after week. And for her, there was a fear that maybe Christmas may not be as good as she hoped it would be. Maybe she wouldn't get the presents she hoped she would get, and maybe she wouldn't get presents at all. And that would all just lead to so much stress. Now, things were so bad for us that I went quite radical, and we just hunkered down at home basically, because I had tried the pantomimes and the Christmas carol concerts and they just all ended in disaster. And actually even something quite gentle like making Christmas cards at the local library was too much for her. So from the beginning of December, it was literally go to school, come home and hunker down. It was almost like a lockdown before we'd all heard about the term lockdown. Now, that was quite radical, and I'm not suggesting everyone needs to do something quite as extreme as that, but you probably are going to have to change the way you do Christmas from what it was like when you were a child, or even what you thought it would be like for your family now. And I know what you are thinking. There are expectations on you. You have your wider family to think of. They expect to see you. They expect to have the big Christmas dinner and all the trimmings and lights and fun and excitement. And there is also traditions. You might not want to let go of those, and that's completely understandable. But the fact is, if you have a neurodivergent child or any child who is sensitive to changes in routines and sensory sensitivities, then you are going to have to do something different if you want to avoid the constant meltdowns and all the stress that brings. Now, I have some suggestions on how you can do this and still have a nice Christmas. So first of all, we need to think of the sensory side of things, and that starts at home. So think about how you decorate your house. Maybe keep the decorations to just one room and don't go overboard with them. I mean, sticking a massive tree in your middle of the room is weird enough. Do you need much more than that? Keep it simple and minimal, and maybe do it over several weeks so the change is gradual. And also think about routine. Try and keep to your routine as much as you can. I know it's difficult this time of year, but as much that you can keep in place will help them feel safe and secure. You may also want to speak to your school about how they can stick to as much of a routine and make your child feel secure at this difficult time of year. Now, you also need to think about traditions, and it might be time to start making your own. For example, how are you going to spend time with your family this year? How does your child cope if you go over to a very large family gathering? This might be where you want to implement a policy of titration. Now, titration is a medical term, and it means to gradually introduce. It's often used in the context of medicines, but we can use titration in a social sense as well. So this means doing a little bit at a time. So your child might benefit from just going over and seeing the family for a short while, maybe an hour or two, and then you leave. And I know some family members are going to struggle with this, but you just need to hold your boundaries and explain that you are doing this because this is all your child can cope with. And it doesn't always have to be like that. I found my daughter's been able to cope with more and more the older she gets. So you titrate those experiences for them and gradually stretch their window of tolerance for those large family gatherings and all the excitement. Also think about presents. Your child doesn't actually need loads of presents. I know they might be saying that they do, but actually they don't. What they need is you. And obviously you need to want to give them presents, but keep it small and not too overwhelming. I try and do one large present, one medium present, and then lots of small presents. We also, a few years ago, to help with that build up of anticipation, started opening the presents earlier. Now, I was able to tap into my Jewish traditions, and even though I'm an atheist Jew, I do now celebrate Hanukkah partly for my daughter so that she can open some presents before Christmas, and I did find it really helped. So we start opening presents at Hanukkah and then we gradually do them up until Christmas. And that has really helped burst that bubble of anticipation and reduce some of the worry and stress. And finally, think about creating some new routines. This is obviously going to take a few years, and as your child gets older, they will start to learn those routines. So, for example, my daughter now knows that we get up on Christmas morning and we do our present, then we have our breakfast, and so there's a set routine that she understands now happens at Christmas. And she also understands that there is a set routine that we do at New Year too. In fact, she actually said to me, "Oh, it's nearly chocolate fountain time," because she knows every New Year's Eve we do our chocolate fountain. It's just part of our new routine. Finally, it's really important to have some downtime in Christmas. Now, as I said, we went really extreme and did almost a version of lockdown. I'm not suggesting you have to do that unless you really think it's necessary, but I would encourage you to build in some downtime into every day in the lead up to Christmas and really up your parental presence during this time. Spend at least 10 minutes every day with your child where you are giving them your undivided attention. Really focus on what they're interested in, and if that means sitting and watching them play Roblox, sit and watch them play Roblox. And I create a little den for my daughter to go to. So I've actually got one of those IKEA loft beds, and her den is inside the bottom of her loft bed. And this is a space she knows she can go to, and it's got curtains that we can pull across, and she's got her ear defenders when just everything outside is really overwhelming. And you need to have some strategies for you and how you're going to have your downtime too. As I've said before, stress is contagious. Whatever you are feeling stress-wise, the people around you are going to be feeling too, including your child. So when I say you need to de-stress, that's not just for you, it's for everybody. If you are struggling to find the time to de-stress, or you're not even sure how to do it, then I have some free resources on my website. This includes a guided tapping meditation. Tapping is a mix of Eastern Chinese medicine and Western psychotherapy, where we tap on different parts of our body while reciting various statements. It is a radical way of reducing stress and works in as little as 10 minutes. It's free, you can do it at home, and with my online resources, you have someone to guide you through every step of it. So if you've never heard of tapping before and just have no idea what I'm talking about, what do you mean tapping on parts of your body? Don't worry. Go to my website. I'll put a link in the description below where you can sign up for some free tapping resources and make your Christmas one to remember, one that's different but still very memorable. I hope you found that video useful and can put some of the tips in it to use. I thought you might be interested in some other videos that I've made on similar themes, so why not try this one here? I think you'll really like it.